Right. Daily Guide starts this morning and says 63 Ghanaians deported from the United States after trekking from Brazil. That's the story, the big one there on the front page of the Daily Guide. And go for 5 billion stolen cash, Supreme Court says. And Justice Sophia Akufu, yet to be vetted, her photograph here. NPP removes taxes on spare parts and cop killer shot dead. The story of Asiedu-Dartey is here. Asiedu-Dartey floors cheating wife. Daily Graphic has that story. Recover all stolen money from private officials. Supreme Court direct the Auditor General, there. And then US deports illegal Ghanaian immigrants and 12 die in London fire. The Ghanaian Times says suspected cop killer shot dead, 4 other suspects arrested. Sophisticated weapons retrieved. Those weapons here on the front page of the Times. And that story asking the Auditor General to go out there and collect looted state funds also there. The Heritage talks about the same story. The Auditor General's photograph here, Mr. Daniel Domlevo there. The Business Finder says oil, Ghana risks $13 billion loss if prices remain below $50 for 20 years, and disperse stimulus package transparently. That's according to the ICU. The Daily Statesman, bill to remove taxes on spare parts passed despite minority protests. And the BNFT says real estate market oversaturated and about to crash. Those are some of newspapers I have with me this morning. My guest to do their talking to my extreme left is a former member of parliament for the North Dartey constituency, a member of the NDC, George Lowe. George, good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
Hope you're doing great.
Yes, and it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, and thanks for joining us. And then to my immediate left is a deputy director of the National Service Scheme, Henry Nanabuachi. Good morning too.
Thank you very much.
Hope you're doing great too.
Yes. It's been
Thanks so much for joining us. Yes, you've been missing for some time.
He's a big man now.
Oh, he's a big George. Nana, you a big man?
No, I'm
big
not.
man.
You're not.
I mean, you know, I'm the same person.
Yeah, big man.
Okay, he says he's the same person. All right, let's quickly look at this story on the daily. Nana, let me quickly do the Daily Guide story. 63 Ghanaians deported from the US. The key thing here, and the worry of many when the news broke, is the fact that these persons were returned to Accra in shackles. Now, let's begin from here, Nana. Donald Trump warned us. The former U.S. ambassador, the U.S. ambassador now, also warned of these deportations. These persons were brought to Kotoka in chains. What might have gotten wrong, since we knew it was going to happen? Could we have been more active in getting the U.S. government to bring these persons down in a very appropriate manner?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers as well. Frankly, the story is disheartening. But then if you go into the story, it says that these deportees, you remember when we went for the Brazil 14 World Cup. There were some Ghanaians who were reported to have applied for asylum, and that they said there was some religious brouhaha in the country, so they could not stay in Ghana, they could not come back, and they sought to stay in Brazil. If you read the story, these are the same people who managed to get into the United States of America. Right? So obviously, right from reading the story, it means they are illegal immigrants there. My worry is that certainly, I mean, if we also have laws in Ghana, if you are tagged as an illegal immigrant, you are deported, and we've done same. You remember, we arrested some Chinese, and then they were unable to produce their documentation, and then we had to deport them back to their country. Right. So we also have laws here, but my problem will be how they are deported.
Right.
They should not be deported as if they are slaves. they should be not deported as if they have perpetrated some humongous crime. They should not be deported as if they don't have any fundamental, or they are not entitled to any fundamental human rights. That is my problem. You can arrest the person, you detain the person, and immediately you offload the person onto the air flight. I mean, it ends there. You are bringing the person back home. And I don't know the sort of treatment. I read the story, and then it did not really detail the sort of treatment they were given. Right? Whether, I mean, they were harassed, they were brutalized, and whatsoever. I think we need to speak to our people as well. They are Ghanaians. I mean, they have been caught on the bad side of the law, right, on a different jurisdiction. So we need to interrogate them and then find out how they were treated. And then if you are not happy, certainly as a sovereign country, we can also engage the United States of America that, you know what, indeed, we have citizenry coming into your country, although they were illegal, but then how the treatment you meted out to them wasn't that good. But for me, I think we mentioned it, and you see, Honorable George Lowe is here. They were in government then, and then we said it, we mentioned it, that you don't take people. I mean, this thing is not peculiar to one government. You take football supporters to watch football matches, and then sometimes they tend not to come back. It appears this time around, it took a different shape and nature. Now, they appear to have said there is a conflict in Ghana. And because of that conflict, we are seeking asylum in Brazil. And we did not hear from the government of the day. So for me, it is a national embarrassment. It appears that, you see, that is a more reason why.
Could we have preempted it? For instance, since Trump told us, and the U.S. ambassador to Ghana also said it, could the Foreign Affairs Ministry have gone to U.S. and said, look, let us see these persons, even though you're going to deport them, let us see where they live, who they are, at least get them to go pick one or two items that they have, and in fact bring them down in a way that would be appropriate. Could we have done that?
Do you know, my worry is that probably they even entered U.S. before Trump became the president of the United States. Reading the story, they were in Brazil and then they found their way into U.S. And that was in 2014. Right, so and that was probably about 2 years before Trump became president. So we may have one or two issues with these unpopular directives from Donald Trump. I agree. But as I said, if you read the story, we as a country too, I think we need to take some of the bash. If we were to state categorically then that, because we have never lived under any conflict. For Christians and Muslims, we have lived as brothers and sisters. So for any Ghanaian who is taken outside the shores of Ghana to watch football, right, to say that there is some religious conflict in my country, and as such I'm applying to seek asylum in your country, and the government of the day then did not deny those claims, I think it's problematic. And probably they were given that asylum, and then they managed, because obviously they had a plan. The plan was never to, because you see, Brazil, the sort of poverty levels there, it is probably the same as anywhere in Africa. So obviously the plan was not to stay in Brazil. But once you get to Brazil, you can always manage your way illegally into the United States of America. They did so. So for me, I think they have been tracked about 2 years ago, not now. So we should not really put the blame or the whole issue squarely on the Donald Trump administration. Although we are not too happy with some of the directives coming out, the foreign directives coming out from foreign policies, so to put it, coming out from Donald Trump. Yes, but I think it is illegal. We have our own laws. But my main concern is how they were treated. Somebody might have entered your country through illegal means, but how you treat the person after you have detained the person is also key. And that is what, for us as a sovereign country, we need to find out and then engage United States if indeed something untoward happened.
And I'm grateful. George, could we have done more than what we have done by way of extending some consular services to these persons when particularly Mr. Robert Jackson hinted about the deportations, could we have quickly triggered some way to meet these Ghanaians halfway, wherever they were in the United States?
Well, once again, good morning, Bright, and my good friend Anabi, and good morning to our cherished viewers. I want to add my voice to what Nanabi had said in terms of the fact that, well, it's not a comfortable situation, and it's unfortunate. You know, everybody in this world has expectations, and I believe that when our good comrades or kinsmen were going, I mean, they had a lot of expectations. I'm sure they had dreams, and unfortunately, it didn't materialize. They will have to come back home. Unfortunately, and possibly all of them may have come, some without even a single dollar, depending on how you were picked up, depending on where you were found. But having said all that, we should put these things in proper context. First and foremost, I don't agree with Nanabi when he talks about government taking people out there. The opportunity to go and watch World Cup was provided. Some people went on government ticket, but many people also went on their own frolic. Because, like he properly cited, they probably saw it as a route through which they could get to the US. So many of these people, and no wonder that they go and then they go and lie. And it's not entirely true also the government didn't protest. Indeed, the government at the time when we were in power, we did indicate, you know, through letters and contact with the Brazilian authorities that no such thing happened.
Oh, George.
Yes, I'm telling you. There was no conflict in Ghana. Oh, please.
Oh, George.
You can go and check. You,
no.
Nabi, you are in power. You go to the ministry, please. You go to the ministries and find out, you know. But these are people that, like I said, were not officially on most of them officially were on the government. So you couldn't even identify who they were. You know, many Ghanaians just used the opportunity to go out there. Now they found their way to the US. Okay? And they've been confronted with this situation. Whether under Trump's directive or not, I think that it's unfortunate and it's bad enough. Laws have been broken and we must be bold enough to say so. Well, they are welcome home. We ourselves have said that this place is a land that flows with milk and gold. I mean, gold, honey, and milk. So if they apply themselves diligently like we are all doing, I'm sure they'll find something to do. Your major question was if the way they were brought.
Yes,
well,
would have done something.
I believe that first and foremost, we don't even know whether we attempted to do something or something had been done. I would have loved the consular section of the Ghanaian embassy in the US to speak to these things, because I would be, because one, they have been identified as 7,000. And so this is just, I think I hear one batch came earlier, and then this is a second batch. So it means that many more batches will be coming. And once that number 7,000, it means that they are known. And therefore contact would have been made with the Ghanaian embassy. And I'm sure that some things would have been done. Did we do enough? I can't tell unless we speak to the consular people. But you see,
but if we had done that, would they have been brought down in shackles?
You see, yes and no. I want to be very practicable in this matter, on this matter, because a lot of people may just be emotional and react. But I have seen people deported to this country from Germany and other places. And even in the plane, even in the shackles, they can cause a storm. Right? They can cause a storm. I mean, if you are on that plane and they are making the noise and they are struggling with security officers and things like that, you don't want to be on that plane. Because me, when I'm up there, it's very so delicate that my prayer is, Charlie, let's land fast. So we don't know what kind of thing went into that decision. And I don't know, like you said, I would have expected that the consular section would have given them a debriefing session and tell them that, look, this is where you find yourself. It's unfortunate. But all is not lost. You can come back home and make some meaningful, and the government possibly will be ready on standby to assist you, you know, get back to your feet and things like that. And maybe that would have calmed them. But it's not everybody who will be calmed by those assurances. So like I said, I have seen, but I saw one very bad case where even the person, when he got to Ghana, to be taken from the airport to the house was hell. Because I saw it, it was hell. So sometimes we need to put all these things in perspective. As much as possible, we expect our citizens to be treated as humanely as possible. All their rights that should accrue them under such circumstances should be observed, and rightly so. But again, we must also show a lot more interest. As a country, we have a foreign mission, we have a foreign embassy, we have ambassadors that we expect that together, those that are left, we believe that they will make a lot more contacts, and then they will take a lot more steps to ensure that they come back home having been treated properly. And even bringing them in home is not enough. I know NADMO and others were on the ground to receive them. But what end? Are they coming to just join the long queue of unemployed people, or that are we taking steps to see what assistance we can give? They may have different skills that we may need to employ, here, to develop our country. So it's not a pleasant thing to talk about, but it has happened, and
we need to take care of it.
We need to take care of it.
I'm grateful, George. Now, quickly, what you want to react to what, Judge? But I was asking, what quickly can government do to these persons? Already 63 were told, a lot more are coming.
Yes, and if you remember, I think the ambassador even hinted that there are about some 7,000
of them.
Yes, of them, and then they should be ready, and then the new administration will be very hard on them. I agree. This has probably met this unfortunate, circumstance. Lawyer Lowe has spoken to was just a bad speck of it, and I just want to straighten it. You see, as I said, we are one nation. This thing can happen because for tournament is periodical. So certainly we will have under MPP certain tournaments for Ghanaians to probably go and then watch these tournaments. What I'm saying is that if the government of the day, then, if their voice was so loud against the fact that some 63 or many others wanting to seek asylum in another country had indicated that we are under siege, citing religious conflict, if our voice then, as a nation, if it was so loud then, trust me, they would not have been granted this asylum application. The application wouldn't have been accepted. So that is why I'm saying that we spoke about it and nothing was done about it. So I understand.
You spoke about the supporters.
I remember, yes.
Following the Black Stars.
No, when they came, remember, around that time there were so many brouhaha. I mean, about those who had come, and then the issue of this 3 million, so many things. So immediately the tournament was over. That was when news broke out that some Ghanaians are seeking asylum there, and the reason is that there's a religious conflict here. And I said, our voices then as a nation, it was not so loud against it. Because certainly...
Now let me ask you, this is 63, we're told 7,000. I hope you're not suggesting...
I'm very sure the 7,000, no, I'm very sure the 7,000, the categorization will be different.
Right.
Because from the ambassador, he's saying that those who got visas and then they have outstayed their visas, certainly, I mean, they have been fished out. And there are different locations in the United States. They are being detained. Right. And then immediately they finish the process.
They
will be brought down. Obviously, that is different from this one. You could see that this was under a different categorization. And
not
the security,
part of the 7,000?
Yes, I'm sure. Wow. Because if you read, these were the people, and they traced them right from Brazil. Right, their security. I traced them right from Brazil.
That's a very key issue. Now that we know that there are 7,000 to be brought, we have seen 63 in shackles. Are we waiting to see the other batch also in shackles being brought now?
That is why. I'm told, if you read from the story, and I'm told yesterday too, I did some inquiries, they are being interrogated. Those who came yesterday, I mean, they are being interrogated, and they are also telling their story. Some are saying that they were treated as if they were criminals, and so that is why I'm saying that for us, as Ghanaians, and then the Foreign Affairs Ministry, we need to be very much concerned about how they are being treated. So that even if they are breaking a particular law in another country, then certainly they should meet the consequences. Right. But then their dignity as well should also be protected. They have human rights. So that is what I'm saying. For this 63, they should be interrogated. And if if there is that basis for us as a country to also engage United States of America, that indeed we accept. If you think that our people are in your country illegally, you can let them face the consequences, but you don't treat them as criminals.
Yeah, but Nanabi, let me just make a point for you to understand. You see, when I go to US today, and at the airport, I say, look, I'm a refugee, or I'm seeking asylum because Ghana is in turmoil, because Kandahar boys and others. You think the US embassy will not come, will not send somebody down the ground, or not call Accra to ask them to find out, to give them a
they
picture?
will.
Yes. So why didn't the Brazilian authorities indeed also make investigations and find out indeed if Ghana had these religious tensions and things like that they were talking about?
You see,
so clearly, I'm saying
that the Brazilians are not even my concern. No. My problem is that even for them to put it out there,
I know
that we are involved in some religious conflict.
Right. The point is that
it was even bad for us.
Well,
so for us, we should have spoken against it.
If we used to say something that tomorrow, if the US brought a big plane, 747 or some big plane to Kutuka, and say, okay, we are taking people to the US free, you will go in shackles. Both leg
if they want to put the shackles on you too,
people will go.
Even if they want to put them in coffins.
Yes, that plane will be full.
I'm sure some people will.
So for people to go and lie just to get their way, it's normal. That's why I'm saying that it also behoves on the receiving country to do make sure, because
I don't think
because
we need to push,
you see, because you see, when you give somebody a refugee or asylum status, it's a process.
No, lawyer, you don't have to push your responsibility.
No, I'm saying that we had said no.
It's how to deal
we
with
didn't.
The
we didn't.
7,000
you
who
didn't pay
are to
attention,
be deported.
I really followed it religiously.
So I think the key thing here is to find out how the 7,000, the remaining 7,000, or if they are less, how they will be treated. And I think Nana is suggesting that the Foreign Ministry should perhaps see how it can deal with it. And that's what George also shares the same. But let's move on to the Daily Statesman this morning. A bill to remove taxes on spare parts passed. That story is also captured by some other news. The Heritage has it too. The story simply saying that after some months, the bill to remove the taxes on spare parts is being passed. If you remember in the budget statement, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, the finance minister, spoke about the removal of some duties on taxes that sent the hub of spare parts, Abosoka and other places, into jubilation, which very soon died down because of some technicalities. Eventually, we're told Parliament has done that. The Daily Statesman has that story. But apart from the Daily Statesman story, there's a story in the Heritage this morning, also in reaction to that same issue. Page 11 says another 419 economic policy on spare parts. Now, the story says the Parliament has passed the Customs Amendment Bill 2017 into law, subject to presidential assent. Surprisingly, the object of the bill is to provide for zero rate of duties on selected vehicular spare parts only. Now, this story written by, I think, the ranking member on finance, says that it is interesting to note that the budget statement on page 136, paragraph 796, under tax incentives, the government proposed to abolish all duties on the importation of spare parts. The government never said they were going to abolish duties on only selected vehicular spare parts. The story says that it's, however, deceptive for a government that promised to abolish all duties on spare parts to turn around to abolish duties on some selected spare parts only. George, let me start with you. Another campaign promise failed by the NPP. Consumers and those who deal in spare parts had waited for this. Eventually, it has happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, Parliament obviously has passed a bill to remove, some taxes of some selected spare parts. That's what we are made to understand.
Right.
But you see, consistently, our worry is that consistently, the NPP does not seem to be sincere with Ghanaians, and policy after policy, campaign promise after campaign promise is heading towards that direction. No wonder somebody is talking about another 419 economic policy. I don't know. But insincerity is something that does not give credibility to governance, across board. And sometimes it gives politicians a bad image, because next time, even when you are promising and it's a genuine promise, the populace will find it very difficult to accept. Take free education. I think that we've had argument here before, where what has been promised, now we don't even know what is going to be implemented because they keep changing the goalpost and it's getting narrower by the day. First it was from 0 to SHS. Now it has come to, then it came to free SHS, then it came to only those going to the first year, then it came to those who have passed, you should get a certain pass mark. Gradually, and even some of the items, gradually we are seeing it shrink on and on and on and on. And there are many others I can cite. The planting for food and jobs. You know the complaints that have come from all the other stakeholders that they are not sticking to the original plan and that they seem to be shifting the goalposts. Some of the things they said they have done, it turns out that is not even true. Now, with the spare parts, that's even more dangerous. Why am I saying this? Because, yes, there was a government financial policy read on behalf of the president by the finance minister in terms of the budget. He says all taxes on spare parts is going to be removed. Then we waited from, I think, January or February or so to now. Now, what did they tell us? They said, no, they need to go and consult the ECOWAS people on the CETA thing and then see what they can do. They need to consult. It turns out that they didn't need to consult after all because Ghana has some 170 exemptions which has not been used up. So clearly, they were playing delayed tactics to be able to take the tax. Again, mischief. They were deceiving the Ghanaian spare parts dealers. And you know why? You remember that the question of what constitutes spare parts was key in all these things because the policy was an omnibus policy of spare parts. So who are even saying that why if I go and buy a car and each and every part is disintegrated, do they all constitute spare parts? You know that argument came in the public domain and the minister said they were now going to meet people to determine what constitutes, they were going to meet the traders to determine what constituted spare parts and things like that. Now here again we have partial fulfillment because we are talking about selected spare parts. So again, government has been insincere in its implementation. At least, what I can say for now is that half a loaf is better than none. We only hope that truly, this will translate into something that will make a business a little more comfortable for those doing it. But you see, for me, what worries me is that whatever we are doing in terms of taxation, reduction of taxation, supposed removal of nuisance tax, we are taking away through the back door. Guys, try clearing a vehicle today and you pay through the nose. Possibly almost 100% what was happening in 2016. Why?
Charges have gone up.
Charges have gone up. Now we are talking about toll tax and all those things being adding onto the transport sector. And I'm happy that COPA have started complaining. Many other things are being done, so that even where you are being made to believe that, we are trying to make life a little more easier for the business people. On the flip side, some other business people will suffer greatly because their business will be run down because the taxes that have been imposed is higher or the cost of doing business is higher. So did we go or did we come? I believe that that's what the business people will be asking themselves. Very soon, some segment of the business community will be up in arms. And the drivers have started it already. Suddenly, they are saying that they are going to introduce new driving license. I don't know what is wrong with my driving license. I don't know what other information they want on the driving license. That is going to cost us more. And so why are we being treated like that? Is that what the NPP promised? Did they promise to make life easier for us or to kind of make life more difficult for us? I mean, Ghanaians should begin to understand, that they've been misled big time. And I believe that I don't have to tell them. When they begin to feel the heat, they themselves will realize that, Charlie, these are not people we should have trusted. But for me, what hurts me, though, is that when we behave like that as politicians, then it's giving all of us a bad name, because now you go there and everybody is telling you that, oh, as for you people, you know, you say one thing on the political platform, and then when it comes to implementation, well dodged. And I think that it's a bad thing. I want the government to be sincere, you know, and live up to its promises. That is the way to go.
George, I'm grateful. Now, so a campaign promise fulfilled, but partially. That's how it's been described.
Right. I am very scandalized by the comments coming from Honorable George Lowe. You see, for the MPP, probably is the NDC that currently are not feeling the renewal energy in this country. All the promises, I'm starting from there now, because he made mention, all the promises Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo made, the giant and ambitious promises. Tell me, which one of these promises he made in 2016 on political platforms? Almost every promise Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo made has seen some sort of light, one after the other. Number one district, one factory. Quite recently, it was announced that it is taking shape, and that close to 400 million Ghana cedis is already being pumped into it. Secondly, we made mention of Zongo Development Fund. Very, very, very. Now, we have a minister at the presidency in charge of it. And indeed, Dr. Bawumia, His Excellency Al-Hajj, has also promised that moving forward, there will be a particular statutory fund dedicated for the Zongo Development Fund. And they have also started working. Again, free SHS, I don't know what he was talking about.
He says it's been partially fulfilled.
How? Number one.
In fact, it's now a scholarship scheme. It's no longer free SHS, it's a scholarship
scheme. You know, probably they know that
all of these... Is it a scholarship scheme now?
I don't know what he's talking about, but I would not want to go...
No, do you want me to help you?
I don't want to go on that tangent.
No, do you want me to help you?
Let me speak to Ghanaians. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo made the Okuapemang Declaration and said, a promise he started making right from 2008 up to Victory 2016, he's going to fulfill it. And this September, we are starting. If the Minister of Education says, and that is the status quo, the status quo is that, indeed, you have to sit for BCE, pass, and then you move on. And this year, we have close to about 500,000 candidates for BCE. So if we have about 300,000 or 400,000 passing, and then, or even if 100% of them should pass, the point is that all of them will benefit from the free SHS.
Nana, the key thing the minority has been asking is that the president promised a free senior high school, suggesting that as soon as that program takes off, Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3.
No, I'm coming there.
Is that what the president promised?
No. Even in 2012, we stated that immediately we come into office, the very first term, then those who are entering will benefit.
So it wasn't for all Form 1, Form 2, Form 3.
Right. That's all I have quoted. No, you have quoted where? You have daily gathering in front of you.
George, let me do.
Kindly hold on.
George, let me do my work. Nana, it's very simple.
I'm sure that I'll get there.
Nana, it's very simple. Did the NPP promise free senior high school for Form 1, Form 2, Form 3 students?
No, I'm coming.
Or they did not?
I'm coming. I'll get there.
No, I think this is a simple question.
No, because I'm making a point. You cannot just let me truncate that point before you ask this question. No, let me make that point. The first point, because he made that point, he stated that the minister says that only those who pass are supposed to benefit. And I'm saying that is a status quo. You have to sit for BCE until we remove that step,
that exam,
that barrier,
as a barrier to free.
Yes, until we remove that. But the status quo is there. The status quo is that you sit for BCE, you pass, and then you are placed in school, and you benefit.
Another clarification.
Now moving on to your question.
No, before that. So when he says for only those who pass. It is not to look out for a category of those who will pass. Let's say those who will make a certain aggregate.
No,
but for those who can
those who are placed,
their pass. That is it 24 or something?
No,
those who will pass.
Don't forget that after you sit for the BC, the results comes and the results is given to the computer placement center, and then they put people in schools.
Okay.
So everybody
who is placed, whether even if you had 40 and you are placed,
everybody who is placed,
great. Okay, go ahead.
Everybody who is placed, should benefit or would benefit.
So that was the promise.
No, that is the status quo now. But and the promise, moving on, the question, yes, answering your question. Nanado says free SHS. He is given the mandate this January. Now, the promise starts in September.
Right.
You campaigned against free SHS. You mounted close to about 30 adverts against free SHS in the year 2012. So you don't even have that moral, platform to even mount on to make those declarations. So what we are saying is that
I get George.
The first year, those who are entering, they will start benefiting, and every policy has a starting point.
All right.
So it's either they are blowing hot air, or it's either they are dazed, or it's either President Mahama tried to hoodwink Ghanaians by saying, "Oh, I've even started the free SHS," when indeed there was no belief in it. But we have stated categorically, so they are starting, and every policy, you know it. He's a senior lawyer. You know it that every policy has a starting point. The starting point for free SHS is this year September, and all those who are entering are going to benefit. So
next year we'll have the Form 2s, the Form 1.
Yes. So next year, those who are going first, those who are entering first year now, obviously next year they will be in second year, so they'll be benefiting. The following year they'll be in final year, they'll be benefiting. So that's the succession plan.
Okay, I'm grateful.
You see, and just a last comment, if they had campaigned for free SHS, and all of us had adapted.
They said a progressive free SHS. So they are even suggesting that what you're doing is progressive.
They were just playing semantics.
So perhaps they suggest that
they did not believe in it. If they had believed in it and campaigned for it, your niece or your nephew, who is in Form 3 by now, should have been benefiting. You campaign against it. And you are sitting here and then you are saying that it's a partial fulfillment of the... It's not partial. It is a full fulfillment of the policy. And in fact, we are even going to broaden the frontiers of this promise as we move forward.
Nana, you brought the... George, before I come, Nana, you don't also forget that there was a promise to feed day students 1 hot meal per day. The concern with that is that there are some day schools which do not have kitchens, dining halls. Have all that been taken care of?
Oh no, you see, even the meals we give them under the school feeding, sometimes the caterers cook
and they bring
it.
So
there's always care of. There's always
even with a dining hall.
Oh yes, there's always
find a way to grateful.
The interesting thing is that you see when the NPP are talking about policy, they don't listen to themselves. They are carried away about what ought to be, rather than what they think they are implementing. Now, very simple. We talked about, we as an NDC government, you said, look, the Constitution, let's not pretend that NPP is bringing free education. NPP has never brought it. The Constitution says that progressively we must implement free education, universal.
And you fought against it?
Wait a minute. So governments have
an obligation
since 1992.
Yes, they have an obligation. We came and said, look, not only should we be thinking about free, but we should be thinking about when you go to that school, there should be a classroom to sit in. You have just mentioned kitchen. There should be a kitchen where you can go for your meals. It's supposed
to be a composite policy.
Please.
In our policy, it's composite. We'll be building schools, we're making it free.
Now, we came and said, first and foremost, we're going to build so many secondary schools, so many training colleges.
In the forest.
You understand?
But
and so we started rolling out.
Sometimes you wonder what went. What thinking?
Please.
What thinking?
Oh,
you did. Don't do this. You
did. We started rolling out the policy. Now you have come. The distinction between the NDC and the NPP was that the NPP came and said, look, what these people are doing, they used to call it thought by thought. We are not coming to give you any thought by thought. We are coming with fully fledged free education. Now we can play tapes. We hear your people talking, your president, your presidential candidate then, the vice presidential candidate then. Today, they are even doing less than what we are doing. Today, they are talking about free education for first years and that you must be placed and all that. We were not only doing that, we were also paying access. Yesterday, did you listen to the GET Fund argument on the floor of Parliament? That even the GET Fund that we use to facilitate access, more infrastructure, what are they doing with it? They've reduced it drastically. I am telling you that they are bereft of ideas in policy implementation. They didn't understand that talk was cheap for them at the time. September is not very far. He started by talking of one district, one party, June. You remember that they said it to be commissioned in June?
Yes,
we are waiting.
The launch is in
the launch. We are not launch. We want to see things. After launch, I can also go and launch on it.
I don't want to ask to drink, but I want
to
back
to me. Right. You know, I have not even addressed the taxes.
Yes, that's why I'm coming back to you because
yes. But clearly, Ghanaians are not blind. Ghanaians are not deaf. They are hearing, they are seeing. Whatever 419 you are putting across, they are seeing.
Okay, John, let me get him to address the tax.
The sort of legacy, bad legacy, incompetent legacy NDC left behind. They are cloaked with so much incompetence that they don't even see things when they are bright.
Is that why the spare parts cannot be fully implemented?
No, you see, you know my problem here. You come and you impose so many taxes on businesses. Businesses are dying.
And the job is to remove them now.
No, I'm coming. Somebody comes and says that I'm going to make sure that I give some tax reprieve to spare parts dealers. And then attached to this is also an ECOWAS agreement. We have managed to collaborate with them. And I'm even sure that they don't even know the selected spare parts. Yesterday I was with an MP and he said, why is spare tires not part of it? As in the tires and then the batteries. And then for me, I'm like, when you go and buy a brand new car from Toyota or anywhere, and then they said they've given you a warranty, all spare parts, for the next 5 years. Tires will not be part of it. So if it is selected, move to Abosu Okai, and for me, I've interacted with them. They are happy. They are extremely happy.
They were happy, but they're not. They're complaining because it has taken about 5 months. But the key thing, the key thing we want to address is that it's selected spare parts. The promise was spare parts. So why selected spare parts?
Right, that is what I'm trying to say. If they are saying all spare parts,
it's not they saying. No, your promise was.
We say we are going to abolish taxes on spare parts. We don't even use the word all. We said they are going to abolish on spare parts.
Okay.
So now they are playing semantics again.
So you meant selected spare parts.
Read the promise again. It says we are going to abolish
duties on spare
parts. You did not say all spare parts.
So Nana, you are saying.
So
that
if we say spare
parts, at that time you meant selected spare parts.
But no, that is what I'm trying to say. That if we say spare parts, and now there have been taxes
on selected spare parts.
The taxes removed
on selected spare parts.
No, you are using the word selected. Why are you going by their terminology?
No, the story says that the amendment bill.
It is coming from these NDC people.
The bill that you brought to Parliament is coming from NDC.
You know,
I said no. Are you saying that?
You see, for me,
the bill that you
were the finance minister, deputy finance minister. Okay. You plunge this country into financial chaos.
George,
you plunge this country into an economic crisis.
And
then today, I'm coming. And today, you yourself, you are crazy yourself. Today, you have that moral.
And that is why we voted Ato and his team out. Now, you promised to remove tax duties on spare parts. The concern is that we are told that what Parliament has done means that it is only selected spare parts.
Oh. I gave it. Who said all?
So your promise was not on all spare parts.
You said spare parts.
It is settled. It is settled.
So why? You see, the NDC. That is what I'm saying. The NDC will always certainly. They are so uncomfortable in opposition, and they also want to remain relevant to their people. But their people are not satisfied with you and your performance in Victory 20. That is what they are trying to do. So on everything, they will try and move behind the scenes, try and come out again, because we never said all spare parts.
You say spare parts.
Spare parts.
And it meant some selected spare parts.
So now if at least the people who will benefit, Ghanaians, the Abosokan people, if they are happy, I'm all for it.
Okay, we should go and ask them.
You read your own manifesto. Your own manifesto.
I'm wrapping up on this one.
No, he should read it. He said free on universal basis to all Ghanaians. Let
me read it. Why are you hiding it from me?
I'm hiding it. Read it.
Let me read it.
Okay, but I was asking a question, Nana. Is it likely that these papers will be taken off? Because we are told that it's for just.
Can I address what he's saying?
Okay, your manifesto.
The MPP will redefine basic education to include senior high school, covering vocational, agricultural, technical schools, make it available for free on universal basis to all Ghanaians.
Yes. What do you understand by universal basis?
What is your problem here?
I'm saying that what you are doing is not universal basis. You have misled Ghanaians.
Do you know my problem? My problem is that this government is just about 5 months.
So
we have a 4-year mandate. For me, I know that steps will even be taken to make sure that the BEC thing, remove it. But we have not removed it.
Yes,
but
of course, if basic education should start from KG, then we can't.
I agree. So it is a policy under enrollment.
Okay, I'm grateful.
So I don't know.
Johnny said that you roll it.
Let me bring Johnny in for some comments that have come in, and then we'll go and talk about the Auditor General's powers now to recover all stolen money. Johnny, good morning once again. Some comments have come.
Great. So, please, I salute you, Honourable Low. As the Honourable Member, did MPP promise free education for first, second, and third year students? That's a big question there. Well, and has been trying to put it in context. Good morning, TV3 Universal.
They have been so disingenuous.
Universal charger. Good morning, TV3. Politicians never stop surprising me. If you were in government and you couldn't establish a program and the new government is about to implement it, I think they should be rather encouraged rather than trying to bring it down. We Ghanaians have all our eyes opened. NDC must know better. Vincent Chikpo from Mamprobi. And good morning, TV3. Please tell the MPP man that we are not feeling anything in the country, but we want to assure them that we Ghanaians are watching closely. Thank you. Ransford in Winnipeg. Good morning. Hey, NDC, please, enough is enough. Please try and appreciate what they are doing. If you are not seeing it, then it says shush up, and you don't have to talk. We all saw what you did. Shame, he says. Good morning, TV3. The 419 bill on spare parts is finally out. Go to Abosokan today and you will not see any impact on the so-called tax removal of the spare parts. Billy Graham in Legon. And good morning, Bright. I think we gave the MPP a 4-year mandate. So why does Yanum want them to fulfill all their promises this year? We, the ordinary citizens, can feel the change and hope they can implement them all by 2019 to gain another 4 years. From Kwame Anelka Asante Bekwai. And my regards to members of A Cry of the African Child. I'm sure it's an organization. George Lowe, in fact, you are doing well. I like the way you are talking, by Billy Graham from Legon. So the Billy Graham who says that we should go to Abosuka and whether we'll see an impact, says George Lowe is doing very well. Interesting. Nana, the universality of the free education has come up.
Okay, we'll deal with that later on. Let's wrap up on this one.
I like the last bit of it. The person who said that we are not feeling it, the same person who's obviously you can know where the person is coming from.
Okay, we shall see. Okay, so the Supreme Court has ordered the AG to recover all state funds which have been misappropriated by individuals. Now, the judgment delivered yesterday by a 7-member panel said the order affected both public officials and private individuals. I have run out of time, but let's jump quickly into this one.
That was something we should have discussed.
Yes, George. So let me start with you. This is good news. Effort at collecting all that we have lost, isn't it?
Right. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but for me, we are at ground zero.
The law, the order won't help us.
I think that, you see, I will be careful to gloat over this ruling because it's just an affirmation of the status quo.
It was already there.
It's always been there. The Attorney General, the Auditor General has always had the power to surcharge, and he has surcharged.
But whoever was there never did anything.
You see, it's not about never doing anything. I think that the Supreme Court did what they should do as a Supreme Court, like they did in the Woyome case. The Woyome case, they say go and collect the money. Has any money been collected, to the best of your knowledge?
Not yet, just some amount. That
thank you. Because you see, we must put these things in a context of an understanding. If you don't put it in a certain context, you will miss the point. One, what is the constitutional mandate of the Auditor General? Two, what other laws have we made for the Auditor General? Are we really expecting the Auditor General to leave their office and be going from organization to organization and collecting money for surcharge? You see, the Auditor General would surcharge and say that, recommend a surcharge, and say that, Nanabi, looking at this, if you cannot account for this amount of money, then you have to refund it to the state. Is that not so?
Yeah.
When he has done that, there are audit committees under this new financial, public finance management law. There are audit committees. They must make the move to ensure that bring the money. If you don't bring it, there are processes. And when even you are not satisfied, when they take you to police or they want to try you or they want to use they want to use civil to get the money, you have a right to even go to the High Court to challenge.
If you think you're being treated unfairly.
Yes. And as I remember, I have worked in Public Accounts Committee for 4 years. You know, I have attended all the seminars in other countries. I know what I'm talking about. Nowhere can the Auditor General be expected to, with a stick in hand or a cap in hand, be going from organization to organization and say, oh, Bright, I've surcharged you. With some of these things, only the Attorney General that can prosecute you. Because the Auditor General, this is only an administrative power. And even then, you see, one, look, do they even have the resources to do these kind of things? We have several organizations, the EOCOs, the courts. In fact, the former CJ had also established a court to deal with these administrative things. We have the all the things that we need to do it. If we come back and we are celebrating between one man being the Auditor General, his team can collect money for us, I think that will go back to square one, because the remit of Parliament is still there in our Constitution, right? The remit of Parliament is still there in our Constitution. For me, what hasn't been working is that the institutions that must aid the Attorney General, the Auditor General to do its work,
they are not working.
Yes, I can give you an example. I before we left, one of the last hearings we wanted to hear was with the IGP, because there are cases that even the Auditor General, through the Auditor General's report, have been reported to the police, financial malfeasance, and for 17 years, nothing has been done about it. There are others that have gone to the Attorney General's department, nothing has been done about it. So nobody should start with a white handkerchief dancing bobobo because they think that tomorrow morning we are going to we must get our institutions to work and work properly. This faith, 100% faith we put in the Auditor General to collect these monies for us, for me it's not practicable.
Sorry.
Yes, on the law side, on the law side, yes, the Supreme Court has affirmed that power that the Auditor General has and possibly has clarified it. But you see, practically on the ground, there are still a lot of things to do.
All right, I've run out of time. Nana, please wrap up on this one for me. Sorry, I've run out of time.
Oh yes. First of all, let us commend
Occupy Ghana.
Occupy Ghana. I mean, for me, I mean that is commendable. And secondly, from what Honorable George Lowe said, if you read, especially in the Daily Graphic, paragraph 2. Let me quickly quote. Per the court order, the Auditor General must surcharge any individual who is found to have expended public funds unlawfully. The Supreme Court further ordered the government's prosecution arm, the Attorney General's Department, to ensure the enforcement of the orders by initiating criminal prosecution. So
it comes back to
what he said. What he said, yes, what he said was made. I'm happy he made mention of it. Yeah. But then reading to indeed, because you see, for me, I've always said that even if, and Honorable Judge Lowe can even correct me if I'm wrong, even if there should be some law, some act passed, so that even the public, the PAC, the Public Accounts Committee, if there should be some powers attached to, not that entity, but maybe the agent, so that quickly those who are found culpable
are picked from the room.
The Attorney General, the Chief Justice has established a court that deals with these things. But the thing must travel from a point to the court. That is the problem.
Okay. So for me, I'm happy now. This will be very, very interesting. And for me, the Attorney General should grab this judgment and run with it I know it is within its mandate, but at least this has also given the Attorney General that needed impetus to run with it and then chase anybody with our monies. I mean, we read it 2 billion this year, 3 billion next year. I think we are struggling.
Okay, I'm grateful.
Quickly, let me just say.
10 seconds.
Yes, 10 seconds. I visited the 3 northern regions and I visited some youth groups. Holland Base and then Atlantis.
You didn't visit Kandahar?
Oh, I visited them. Fantastic. Yeah, Kandahar boys. I visited the Kandahar boys in Tamale as well. And then we have Nanado Fan Club. I visited all of those. And then in Upper West too, I went to the Muda and then also the Kandapar group there. I visited all of them, so I'm laying. They are watching.
You're greeting them.
Important that
I tell them to stop some of the things they are doing.
Kandahar boys, they are my guys, man.
Okay, then tell them to stop.
Tell them to stop.
To stop what?
Chasing.
If you have been removed, go. If you have been reassigned, go. And you are saying you go.
Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Scheme, a member of the NPP, George Low, a member of the NDC, former member of Parliament for the North Danyi constituency. Gentlemen, grateful for your Thursday morning.